Hey everybody, today's video is called What Does New Creation Mean? And today we step out of our pass-through study in the book of Daniel, where we're going to be looking at our 10th Topical Saturday for this year of 2025. And we're going to be focusing on our main text that's a very well-known verse in the Bible. It is very popular. So what does it mean when we see the words new creation in this verse? Let's go to the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 5, and we'll look at verse 17. It says here, "Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. Old things have passed away. Behold, all things have become new." So, when you see therefore in verse 17, you should probably move up and see what it's there for. So when you go to verse 16, you see again, it starts out, therefore from now on. Now we got to go up a more to see what it's saying. So we're going to go into 2 Corinthians 5, verse 14 and 15 to get the context of verse 16 and 17. So 2 Corinthians 5:14 says, "For the love of Christ compels us, because we judge thus, if one died for all, then all died. And he died for all, that those who live should no longer for themselves, but for him who died for them and rose again. Therefore, from now on, we regard no one according to the flesh. Even though we have known Christ according to the flesh, yet now we know him thus no longer. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. Old things have passed away. Behold, all things have become new." So Paul says that all believers have died with Christ, and they no longer live for themselves. In our sin nature, we should be thinking of our sin nature as nailed to the cross with Christ and buried with him. And just as Christ was raised up by the Father, so are we raised up by the Father to walk in the newness of life. Let's go to Romans chapter 6, verse 4. And if you've never been on a Topical Saturday here, we try to keep it less than 10 minutes. So it'll be somewhere around 10 minutes, typically. Romans chapter 6, verse 4 says, "Therefore we were buried with him through baptism into death, that just as Christ was raised from the dead by the glory of the Father, even so we also should walk in newness of life." That is the meaning of new creation. That when God saves us, he doesn't just make us better, he makes us new. He gives us a new pathway. And let's go to the Gospel according to John, chapter 1, in verse 13. And I'll do my famous bump it up. So we'll go to John chapter 1, verse 12 and 13. So it says, "But as many as received him, to them he gave the right to become children of God, to those who believe in his name, who were born not of blood, nor of the will of flesh, nor of the will of man, but of God." So born, when you go into John chapter 3 ahead in verse 3 through 8, you see that Jesus says you must be born again. You must be born from above. So new birth was brought about by the will of God. It wasn't something that we do to ourselves or something that just happens coincidentally. And God doesn't clean up our old nature. He creates something new, something entirely fresh and unique. And when we talk about the old nature, we should be talking about the natural pride that comes with the sinful nature. The love of sin, reliance on works, self-love, self-righteousness, self-promotion, self-justification. All those things are part of the old nation, not nation, but nature. A new creature looks outwardly toward Christ. So new creature looks outwardly toward Christ. Let's go to the book of Ephesians chapter 4 in verse 24. And we'll do my famous bump it up. We'll go up to verse 20. Let's start at Ephesians 4:20 through 24. But you have not so learned Christ, if indeed you have heard him and have been taught by him, as the truth is in Jesus, that you put off concerning your former conduct the old man which grows corrupt according to deceitful lusts, and be renewed in the spirit of your mind, and that you put on the new man, which was created according to God in true righteousness and holiness. So the new creation is a wonderful thing that's formed in the mind of God and created by his power. And our new creation, our newness is for the glory of God. And I want to go over to the book of Ezekiel chapter 36. And I know I just did a study on this book, but when we talk about being born again, I think it meets this prophecy to Israel. Let's look at Ezekiel 36 verse 26 and 27. So Ezekiel 36, 26 and 27. I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit within you. I will take the heart of stone out of your flesh and give you a heart of flesh. I will put my spirit within you and cause you to walk in my statutes, and you will keep my judgments and do them. So when God makes us born again, he has to give us a new heart. He needs to remove our stony heart. And I think of like those pictures back in school that they used to show, like, this is what your heart looks like if you decide to be, a chain smoker or whatever. It turns all black and looks charcoal-like. And I think of a heart as looking like that until we are born again, and God gives us a new heart that brings us to himself, and he puts his spirit in us so that we can walk in his statutes and obey him. We can only love him then. We love him because we obey him because we love him then. So salvation is the work of God, and we're going to end today's study with that point right there. And we'll see you next, as we're going to be back in the book of Daniel this upcoming week. I'll let you know when that study will be, but we'll be looking at the Antichrist and Antiochus. So I hope that you have a blessed weekend, and we'll see you back on probably Monday or Tuesday typically. So God bless, and we'll see you then.